back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Report. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Port. And once again, it is the Tony and Barnes Show. Anthony, how are you, my friends?
Doing all right, Brian.
Oh, come on, Tony. I want to smile on your face. You're still tied for the division lead. All hope is not dead and gone just yet. So take it easy for a second.
You're not doing your job.
Obviously, there's a ton of baseball to talk about. Before we get to that, though, I do have some breaking news out of the world of golf, specifically Live Golf. Apparently, they are nearing a deal to buy airtime to broadcast events on Fox Sports, specifically FS1. There are 3 events left in the 8-event inaugural season, with 14 scheduled for next season. But they have not announced whether this deal would include the remaining events this year or would just begin next year. And we know, obviously, David Faraday, one of the most widely known on the course reporters, joined Live earlier this year. So he would be a part of that as well. So this is obviously what they have been looking for. And obviously, they need to still come to terms here, but potentially big news coming out of the world of golf. Any thoughts here, Tony?
I mean, I think that spells trouble, honestly. I think for the PGA Tour. I mean, when you think about it, if Live Tour gets television rights, I mean, for me, that was a big reason why I wasn't watching, honestly, because they were on whatever YouTube, whatever their production value was very low. And in my opinion, it wasn't really very watchable to me. But that's someone from my perspective, obviously someone who knows what a professional broadcaster looks like. But for me, it's on Fox Sports. I'm probably going to tune in, and I would imagine a lot more people would as well. And I think that would be from all walks of life. The older generation that tends to stick to cable, and I think the younger generation as well, because Live, regardless of whatever negative comments or connotations have been kind of slapped on the Live Tour, I still think it makes for entertaining golf, and people are going to tune in. So with Fox Sports, I think that some people who maybe like, oh, Live Tour, maybe they'll be around for a year or whatever, and then kind of fade away. This is going to be a little different depending on what their contract is like. They're going to have good airtime, they're going to be sponsorships, ad revenue. It changes the game a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it'll definitely give people, an opportunity to watch more so. I don't think there's just a negative connotation, with a big sporting event other than football, because obviously we know everybody will do anything for football. But just when you have to use, an app, a smart TV, a computer, an iPad, versus whether you could just turn on that cable box, put on the event. But I just still think, it remains to be seen, and maybe that's why I haven't watched it, but also golf is always in a tough spot because, they're always competing with other sports, and they're always going to be below those other sports other than the Masters and some of the major championships. The eyeballs flock there. But I just think, just generally speaking, golf, has a tough enough time getting viewers with the PGA Tour. So, and sure, this is something different, this and that. But it's like, so, when their next event is, that's going to be during the middle of football season. And maybe they've had the schedule where they're going to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I know they've done both, being that it's only 54 holes. But even if it is on a Saturday, we know, and it's not in our area, but just generally speaking, over the whole country, how much eyeballs are always on college football games on Saturday. So are more people going to be watching college football, or are they going to be watching the final round of the Live Golf Tour from Doral, Tony? You know what I mean?
If you're asking me, I would probably watch the final with Tour.
No. But see, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you, but just generally speaking, college football has a big following. And I think the reason, like we've mentioned on this show before, the reason why we can't get into it is because we don't have a team in a close proximity that has any type of chance of winning a championship. And I think that's the biggest problem. And, if you had a program near us like UConn, like Syracuse, just to name a couple, and, Hofstra, obviously Division I AA, same thing goes for Fordham. But if one of those programs, Rutgers, I guess, would really have the biggest shot, but that's still, not a stone's throw from us. Maybe that would get us into it. And plus, I think with college sports, other than, you have a family that's just everybody went to the school, or everyone's been a fan, they go to the games, this and that, you really kind of gravitate as far as your team is where you went to school. And, not everybody went to programs that have football, that have Division I football. So that's why I think that's why it's tough for us in this area to really get into it, because I know myself, I maybe know, 2 people out of, 100 people that are really into college football and think that it potentially could be better than the NFL. And I just don't see that. I know we've talked about this before too. The biggest thing for us is, the reason why we can't get into it, other than the proximity, is the fact that there's too many teams, there's too many mismatches. And what makes the NFL so great is, there's every week, it's the best players on the planet playing against one another. Alabama, isn't playing Charlotte, for a tune-up. And I think that's where the fans are lost a little bit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For me personally, I don't really follow college football. Just because it's just so daunting when you think about it. I mean, there's a million different bowl games. There's a shit ton of colleges, a ton of teams. And like you said, we're not one of those schools, dude. So what am I like? That's the whole allure of college football. Is like if I went to like University of Alabama or LSU, or Florida or something, like obviously I'm going to the games. Like that's the whole point. Like that's why I could see people making arguments for why college football is better than professional football, is because of the atmosphere. Like those stadiums are rocking, dude. Everyone's having a great time, everyone's in support. That's because, like, if I'm going to that school, I'll fucking support. I mean, I'm a student here at the school. I probably know people in the field, possibly, like, but I'm not doing that right now, dude. No way.
So just something interesting.
Live tour, baby. Live tour, baby.
I do have to say, though, as the season gets near the end, I definitely get a little more interested into, just because a lot of, like, of course, quarterbacks stand out, but still, some skill players, running backs, wide receivers, knowing those guys are going to be the NFL draft. You are interested. Who are the top guys? Who's going to, Tony, I wasn't talking to you specifically. But who's going to be, in the conversation to be the top pick, those type of things. But obviously, we're still early on in the season. So that's kind of where we're at there. So just wanted to bring that to you, and it'll be interesting to see if Liv, can finally get some traction. I think it's definitely failed to do so to this point. And I think the biggest thing too, just to kind of close out this conversation, and I know this just as well as me, is the conversation when it comes to Liv has to be who's staying, who's going, who's coming in, and it's never who's going to win the tournament. Nobody talks about that. And I think that's their problem. It's about who's joining, not what are they doing when they're out on the course.
Well, I do think that that's going to change if they get this TV contract, because like I was talking about, I'm reading articles, I'm reading headlines, I'm not watching. So I'm not talking about who's winning. I'm talking about the controversy surrounding it. But if they do get the Fox Sports contract and they're on TV, people would be a little more submerged in it. And then I think it'll be more interesting to people in order, to be like, oh, wow, like this guy won. Like that's a big deal sort of deal, I think. So what do you think the chances are they actually sign this deal, though?
I think very high.
Very high?
Because you know what it is? It's like, first of all, we know endless money pit.
That's too high.
To buy the airtime. Money's not a factor, and they're just dying to get out on the national picture. I think it's that simple. So I I would imagine a deal will be imminent, and I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow work it out where they could air it, because you're going to have the final event. I'm not sure exactly when it is, but I know it's at Doral, which is a historic course in Florida. So I'm sure they'll want that, on as much of a national stage and as many viewers, as possible.
Do you think Fox Sports is going to have some backlash if they do sign it? No,
I mean, it's this, what the thing is, when is there not? There's backlash for everything. So I don't think this is gonna, scare them away. And everybody likes to get into the depths of the money. Where does it come from? This, that, the other thing. But at the end of the day, it's like Fox, if selling this airtime, I don't know. It's like it's not their fault that whatever's going on is going on. That is at the forefront of the people who are doing whatever they're doing.
Right.
And I think that's where the message gets misconstrued.
Wow.
But and we're going to talk actually too. We do have a PGA Tour event starting tomorrow. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But right now, it's our favorite time, buddy. The world of Major League Baseball.
2-2, he got him swinging. A back-to-back strikeouts for Robbie Ray.
There's damage right there. Shohei. Way, Cy-Yo! Nada, where did that land?
Snuck to Chapman, who leaps up and grabs it.
Story spins and fires. Out at first.
There it goes. See ya. Home run, Aaron Judge.
Before we do actually get in, a couple comments from Prefer, by the way, from before the show even started. Okay, this is at 9:50.
Prefer raring.
Here we go. You're gonna like this one. To fix the home run problem, Aaron Judge should move to cotton Yankees uniforms. If they are happier, they will hit better. Cotton is king.
Yeah. So I mean, despite what Prefer or some of the other Yankee, people that are highly critical of the Yankees, that type of thing, you would think, oh, everyone's bugging. When's the home run going to come? Prefer sitting this sheesh a little bit. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, Aaron Judge will tell you, I'll tell you all about the team, baby. And last night, the Yankees clinched the American League East. So clinching that first round bye. So unlike a certain team across the way in New York, they did not have to worry about playing that first best of 3 wild card series, so they can rest as much as they want the rest of this season. And then while those series are going on, and as of now, and sure change, it looks like they will play the winner between the Guardians and the Mariners. While the Astros, who have locked up the #1 seed, will have to play the winner of the Rays and the Blue Jays. And, we had some discussion on this yesterday. I think Yankees on the more favorable side of that draw, just in terms of who they match up with. But obviously, we'll see as we finish the last 7 games or so of this season. But back to, on the field last night, it was a 5-2 victory for the New York Yankees. And it didn't start out great as you look at it. And George Springer for the Blue Jays, bottom of the first, after the Yankees, failed to push anything across, hits a leadoff home run. That made it 1-0 Blue Jays. And, Jameson Taillon on the hill for this one versus Jose Barrios, the much maligned Jose Barrios, who kind of kept up the theme of him getting hammered out on the mound. So after that, though, Taillon settles down. Didn't actually allow any runs till the 6th inning and pitched into the 8th. So you look at Taillon's final line: 7 1/3, 7 hits, 2 runs, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts, and the 1 home run allowed to Springer. So he sits with a 14-5 record, a 3.83 ERA, as he positions himself to be the 4th starter in the Yankees playoff rotation. And then, before we get to the tail end of this game, as far as the offense for the Yankees, you had Anthony Rizzo single in Kyle Higashioka, who has seemed to have woken up his last couple of starts, 3 for 4 for Higashioka yesterday. So that tied the game at 1. And then Gleyber Torres with a single of his own, scoring Aaron Judge. So that made it 2-1. And then Gleyber Torres, another single in the 5th, scoring Aaron Judge. Anthony Rizzo, unfortunately, thrown out at third, trying to push across another run. So that made it 3-1. Aaron Hicks with a double in the sixth, scoring Higashioka to make it 4-1. And then Gleyber Torres, yet another single, scoring Aaron Hicks to make it 5-1. And Gleyber Torres, we've been talking about this for a little bit now. 3 for 5, 3 RBIs yesterday, averaged up to 257. And he has 74 RBIs in the season. So you look at the overall numbers, I believe it's 24 home runs, 74 RBIs. So, I mean, we're getting pretty close to what we wanted to see out of Gleyber. And that's despite, a terrible second half of July, all of August, before really turning it up here in September. So Gleyber Torres has had a great season. And I kind of speaks to what I was talking about in terms of, Judge not getting the home run. I love the way that they're playing, the way that the offense is performing without him hitting home runs, because I think this is important. And, he's going to play a big role in whether we win a World Series or not. Number 99, Aaron Judge. He needs help, and I think he's getting that in the form of Gleyber Torres. Anthony Rizzo, good game last night, 2 for 4. Very Stanton, good. Continues to struggle, so 0 for 5 with the golden sombrero. Not worried about him. You're not doing your job. I think he'll be just fine. The bugaboo, Tony. They bring out Taillon here for the 6th. He does give up a run. However, Vladdy Jr., who says this is, he owns Toronto, this and that, gets thrown out at second because he wasn't hustling. Thought he hit a home run. That? He said it after, I guess the game on Monday. Strike 3. And that did not play out too well. So that was the end of the scoring for the game. Lou Trevino, after Taillon comes out for the 8th, loads the bases, gets in a little trouble. But then he induces a ground ball on one pitch, and then retires the Jays in short order in the bottom of the 9th for his 11th save of the season. And the Yankees win the division here, picking up their 95th victory of the season versus 59 losses. So, this is the first step of many that they're hoping as the regular season comes to a close and we get into the postseason. But like I had said, I think it's just very important with a couple guys looking to come back from injury to have this time in between, starting today till game 1 in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. And I love this opportunity too, because there's a lot of decisions that need to be made in terms of the postseason roster. Is Hicks going to get designated for assignment? You would imagine Marwin Gonzalez will be designated for assignment. What to do with Chapman? What to do with Britton? And I like that we have the opportunity now. I mean, let's say tonight, for instance, let's say it's a close game late. Let's see Britton in the 8th, Chapman in the 9th, just to play around with it, see what happens. Because at this point, sure, we'd love to get 100 wins for, yet again here. But the thing is, the important part is to have everybody healthy and ready for the postseason. So the Yankees, after that tough stretch in September, have really turned it on. I believe it's 16-5 their last 21 games. That's the type of stretch they needed. And I think they just feel good. There was a lot of naysayers during that time. The sky is falling, saying, oh, they're going to blow it. They're going to blow it. Said. And the thing is, at the end of the day, they don't. They win the division. The sky is falling, Tony. They win the division, and it's all to look forward. It's all up from here, Tony. So it's just a great day to be a Yankee, to be a fan of the New York Yankees. And now it's positioning yourself for the postseason here, getting those roster decisions taken care of, and let's see history. And, there's some talk, too. They were talking about it on Booher and Gio this morning. Possibly Judge sits tonight. This way you assure or give yourself a good shot for him to have that record at home. I'm not sure they'll do that, but time will tell. But it's just, like I said, it's just you feel very good for the shape that you're in and the fact that they've been able to turn it around. And I've been impressed, I have to say, with Taillon. And I think everything lines up perfectly because, they're not going to rush back Montas. I'm sure he's either going to be a long reliever or not be on the postseason roster, which would be my pick. And then you just slide Herman into that reliever role, a role that he's done well in before. And you keep Taillon as a starter. And I think you position yourself well with Cole game 1, Nestor
Mhm.
game 2, Severino game 3, and Taillon for game 4. And who knows, depending on who you play, there might not be a game 4. You might take care of business in short order.
Bullshit.
And we know how well the Yankees play in Yankee Stadium. So they'll be playing, obviously their first playoff game at Yankee Stadium, believe it or not, since 2019. Only
Wow.
the one playoff game last year in Boston. And then 2020, those playoff games were in San Diego and Cleveland actually before that. So they finally positioned themselves well and can relax for these last few games here. So all is good on my end of things.
Worried about Stanton at all?
No, I'm
Not even a little bit,
Mm-mm.
because he looked a little lost out there
Mhm.
last night.
Got some games. Let's get him right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a guy, I think, under the bright lights, as we've seen in a few past postseasons, as we've saw in the All-Star game this year. He thrives in the big moment. You think about too, I know it was a regular season game, but nationally televised, the Field of Dreams game last year, same
Mhm.
thing. It's just, Fenway Park, he's hit a lot of home runs. Whenever they're playing the Red Sox, home runs, playoffs, home runs. So I just feel good. And I understand it. It's embarrassing. I think part of it is he's not 100% healthy, but he's going to will himself. And you watch, he's going to have a big postseason. And the way he's playing, I mean, the fundamentals, the defense, the hitting, hard to say that Oswaldo Cabrera won't have a big moment this postseason. You love to see it, a guy coming up through your system,
Mhm.
giving you energy and doing everything right, saying everything right,
Right.
and just being a versatile team player. So love what I see out of him. He has really exceeded my expectations
Mhm.
from what I thought when they first brought him up. So, and hopefully too, I know unless there's an injury, I guess Peraza can't be on the postseason roster. But now that the thing's clinched, I mean, why would Connor Falefa start any of these games? I'm sure he'll start some of them. But tonight, we better see Oswald Peraza, part of the future of this team in the starting lineup. But we will see. But that's it in terms of the Yankees last night. So let's talk about the Mets with a little bit of a clunker to the Marlins. And I may have forecasted that yesterday if we do roll the tapes back before.
I mean, if you roll the tape back, you probably say that every day. So anyway, so last night, not exactly the outcome you're looking at, as the Mets drop a game to Miami at home 6-4. Carlos Carrasco, who historically, specifically this season, has been really good against Miami. You're thinking, all right, give me a decent start here. Well, he doesn't. First inning, he gives up, I believe he has one walk and 2 hits, I believe he gives up. So the bases are juiced. As Buffer says, cookie crumble and Carlos fiasco. Buffer hit the nail right on the head there. So anyway, in terms of how we got here, right, like I mentioned, bases juiced in the first inning here. De La Cruz, it's a sac fly RBI, putting Miami up 1-0. And then another, I think a wild pitch is how they scored it. But in reality, I mean, McCann just kind of made a mistake. I forget what the count was, but it was pretty obvious that, Carrasco was looking to bounce this ball in the dirt to make someone swing. And, McCann is just in that weird, like, kind of leg out position, and he just doesn't get his glove down, and the ball just kind of slips through his 5-hole. Wild pitch. Cooper to third. Anderson scores, actually. But then after that, I think that at that point, there was 1 out. Carrasco was able to pitch around that. But after the first inning, I think he had something like 42 pitches or 37 pitches, something like that. And of course, his line was already giving up 2 earned runs with a walk. And I think 3 hits. I mean, obviously, it's not exactly the start you want. Kind of, settled down in the second inning, but third inning, Baudet homers to right field. De La Cruz scores as well. It's a 2-run homer for Baudet. And at that point, Carrasco did not return after that inning, and his final line was 3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. And of course, as we've seen before, when the starter has a bit of a clunker, it seems that they like to put Trevor Williams in next, which they do, which is fine. He gets through the top of the 4th, seemingly unscathed, looking okay, looking like maybe he can kind of, service this game here, keep Miami at 4 runs. He eventually doesn't, but nonetheless, bottom of the 4th inning, Pete Alonso continuing to make history here for the Mets, hits his 40th home run, gets his 131st RBI. It was a 3-run homer. He brought in Nimmo and Lindor, making the game 4-3. And that's exactly what you want out of Alonso here. As we're kind of seeing on the highlights here, I believe Alonso's up right now. We're going to see this hit. Gorgeous, dude. Gorgeous home run. He knows it off the rip. I mean, how do you not fucking love that, dude? In Citi Field, he's pumped up. First player in New York Met history with multiple 40-plus home runs in a season. He's now, I believe, at 40 home runs and 131 RBIs. Absolute stellar season for Alonso right now. And like I mentioned, coming up big in this spot, this is the catalyst. This is the start of the comeback that should have happened. Instead, and I'll get into it, there was just a total lack of offense across the field. But at this point, you're like 4-3. This is a fucking game, and you're pretty excited about it. But unfortunately, top of the 5th, Trevor Williams just leaving balls over the middle of the plate. I think gives up I want to say 3 hits. I think the bases were juiced at this point. Yeah, because Stallings singles to the right center. Anderson scored, LeBlanc scored, and Blade to third. So it was a 2 RBI single here. Trevor Williams just leaving pitches over the middle of the plate. Obviously not what you want, not what he should be doing here. He's showed no signs of life whatsoever his past few outings. And just like that, Miami's back up to 6-3. And then after that, I mean, there was just no offense at all until the 8th inning. We were lucky enough. I forget who was the pitcher for Miami. It was Richard Blyer. That's how you say it. Blyer. Very honestly weird thing. I'm sure they're going to show it here. This is where Trevor Williams gave up his 2 RBI single. Love that. I'm going to try and see if I can skip through the highlights here to the 8th inning. Yeah, here we go. So we're seeing here, he's actually pitching to Alonso, and he has Alonso doesn't have a great at bat. Blyer actually pitches really well to him, but look at this. I think a ball outside, and he gets called on a balk call. Okay, McNeil's on first. He gets thrown to second. Bang. Again, next pitch. Strike, balk call again. McNeil advances to third, and he is absolutely livid here. I'm not really sure. I mean, listen, the balk rules in baseball are a little outrageous because I think there's like 15 different ways to balk. And it's kind of up to an umpire to really call it on his own, I guess. Because, I mean, I'm looking at this, and obviously this guy has been pitching. It's not like he's new to the league here. He's probably had the same style, the same form, which is why it keeps happening over and over again, I'm guessing. And for whatever reason, this ump is seeing something. Don Mattingly, pretty heated. He ends up getting thrown out, which, whatever, dude. He's going to lose his job. And then, ends up getting the out on Alonso, finishing the inning here. Blyer significantly, obviously distraught. He ends up getting tossed anyway, too. I mean, he knows, he was only in there for an inning anyway. So he ends up getting tossed, because before he leaves the field here, he has a few words with the umpire, which it is a little outrageous, to be honest. I would be pretty pissed if I was him, too. I really don't understand what the umps were looking at here in terms of balking. I don't think there was anything pretty egregious to be like, oh, that was a balk, whatever. I think it was just one of those crazy things. And then you'll see the bottom of the 9th here as well. It was 3 up, 3 down for the Mets. Absolutely disgusting performance from the bottom of the lineup here. Escobar, who we've seen have success in the bottom of the lineup for us, come up with some big hits. He was 0 for 4 last night. Naquin, 0 for 3 last night. McCann, 1 for 3 as he was batting 9th. And, obviously a little bit of a poor performance from him behind the plate. Vogelbach strikes out to start that inning. Whatever he was looking at was not what he was expecting, because he was obviously sitting maybe off speed, but it was a fastball right by him. You had 2 back-to-back called strikes. What the fuck is that about, guys? You got to swing. You got to swing at the ball. You're down by 2 runs. It's the 9th inning. You got to be fucking swinging. And instead, we have Vogelbach, Kana striking out, looking. Escobar striking out, swinging. And Vogelbach went 0 for 4 as well last night. Absolutely ridiculous, disgusting outing here. Disgusting game here for the Mets, because the Braves won last night, and now the run for the NL East is now tied. And I was talking to Barnes before. Obviously, It's not something you want. I think the lead was at like 10.5 games, whatever it was. Doesn't even matter now because now it's down to 0. So you have to focus on next game and what's coming up next, which is Taijuan Walker pitching tonight, which you want to say he's going to pitch good. But, I mean, coming from most Mets fans, I want to say it's kind of a toss-up, 50-50 chance this man pitches a good game tonight, I feel. But the only thing that I guess you can kind of cling to here is that after Walker, it's Bassett, it's DeGrom, it's Scherzer getting ready, gearing up for the Braves here, which is what you want facing the Braves. And I mean, obviously, with the Yankees not breaking any records here, not breaking any team records, just clinching the division, not making it fun at all, to be honest. Obviously, the Mets want to give the world a show, so they're making it pretty interesting here because they have it in the bag still. Total confidence in them winning the division, beating the Braves. I mean, hey, it must be nice to win a division with only 95 wins. It must be nice to have that opportunity. But you know what? The Mets are going to make it interesting and make it fun and make it some fucking great baseball, dude. Brian.
What I would say is, Tony,
what would you say, Brian?
You don't even believe what you just said.
No, it's bullshit.
No,
because I said it before too.
It's in spite.
No,
it's in spite. It is. And I think it's
The
kind
polar
of
bear and the boys.
Pete Alonso's going to lead the team.
I would say it's kind of poetic justice for all the stuff from Prefer specifically, but the occasional comment from you. And I think the funny thing too is there was a lot of talk about how high and mighty the NL East is versus the AL East. And
it is.
The funny part is it was just 2 days ago that Boston was eliminated from the playoffs, while the Mets are playing a division with not one but 2 teams have been eliminated for the playoffs for over a month. So that just shows how weak the bottom of that division is. So that is the reason for the few extra wins.
It doesn't matter.
Because if the teams that are dumpster favorite,
the top 2 teams in the NL East, if they were in the AL East, they would have clinched already.
Well, they wouldn't have because they wouldn't have as many wins because they're playing harder teams.
Bullshit.
And that's what you're not. The proof's in the pudding.
No, it's not.
The proof is in the pudding.
The Yankees, 95 wins, clinched the division.
Hey,
less wins than the Mets. They clinched the division. They have won less games.
But I'm saying the Mets, I think in the AL East maybe would have 85 wins.
No
86
way.
wins.
Get out of town.
I mean, you played the Nationals and the Marlins 19 times.
The Braves are better than everyone in that division.
But not better than the Yankees.
Yes, they are actually. They have more wins. They have better players.
I hope we have an opportunity to play them. So listen. You know what I mean? God. It can be coined any way that
Prefer
it needs
AL
to be.
Teams are cupcakes, dude.
Listen, man. Like I said,
best pitchers in the league, DeGrom and Scherzer. Mets got the best 1-2 punch with Alonso Lindor. It doesn't matter.
I believe
Mets are the best 2022 World Series champions.
From you and Prefer is all due to the fact that you guys, whether you want to admit it or not, are nervous here because you find yourselves in a situation.
No, it's not. It's because you're talking
very
smack,
close
dude.
to having to play in the wild card
No.
series. I mean, there is no. That is the truth. You're tied for the lead, and it all depends on what happens on these couple games. And there's a lot of question marks. So if you would rather be in that situation, good for you. But I know that the Yankees are in a 10 times better situation. So that's fine. So. I mean, play
wild card
play out
or
string.
not. Wild card or not, dude. Mets
Big
are
difference.
going
Let me
further.
tell you.
No, I'm sure it is. But regardless of what happens, the Yankees are losing the Astros in the playoffs. It doesn't matter, dude. They're not making it past the Astros.
Nobody is beating the New York Yankees this season.
Sounds like you're nervous, dude.
Not nervous.
No, you are. Dude.
I'm not.
I'm
not nervous, and I'm not upset.
You're upset.
As
nervous.
we said, yeah, my face is red because of this camera. It always makes my face look red. Is it a bite, Sony? Is it a bite? No bite here. But just everybody knows from watching this. I've said it. I said it on the reel that was just posted yesterday. Nobody's upset. All right, so we are all good, and I look forward to seeing how the Mets deal with the amount of pressure and it's just funny too because the schedule, this and that. Well, how's the schedule? I mean, you just lost to the Marlins, so
the schedule's been tough. All right, people have been talking about how, oh my God, the schedule's so easy. In reality, they've been playing.
It's tough when you get swept by the Cubs. They've been playing games to the Marlins.
Ton of games. No one's been resting. They've been traveling all over the country.
Yeah.
So it's not so much of an easy schedule as people play it out to be because it really isn't. It really isn't. It's a lot of games in a short amount of time, low rest, and a lot of travel. So it is. It's a different type of schedule than people kind of portray it to be. So yeah, Brian.
Do you think if let's say in the wild card series, you're down to a pivotal game 3? I mean, is Scherzer or DeGrom coming out of the pen in relief there? I mean, are you just all hands on deck? I mean, how do you feel like you line it up in that scenario?
I mean, maybe depending on, I guess how they were pitching the first 2 games. But I mean, if they could come out of the pen, yeah, sure. But I would have confidence in Bassett to have a quality start, more than a quality start, honestly.
And I believe, I think actually, let's see. So being the 2, so it would be the 3-6. So okay, so the 3. Oh, okay. So if you're the 3rd, okay, play the So the Mets would play the Phillies if everything holds the way it is right now in the wild card series.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been torching the Phillies all season, so
What goes up?
no, Brian.
Good morning, fellas. So happy to see you. Your mother says,
yes. My mother says good morning. Good morning, Mom. I'm happy to see you as well, just as much as Brian.
Who do you think's more confident if you had to pick you would prefer here?
In what? In the Mets winning the division
or just I guess winning the division to start?
Ooh, I don't know. I think it would be pretty even, honestly, at this point, to be honest. I feel like Prefer and I have the same amount of confidence level here.
All right.
My mother my mother, Barnes didn't get my Seinfeld cotton uniform reference. Brian doesn't watch Seinfeld.
Yeah, much. I mean, come on, Prefer. Really?
That was the episode when George is talking to the Yankees.
I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. I don't know how much I'm seeing the light when it comes to that.
Actually, he was talking to a young Buck Showalter.
A young Buck.
A younger Buck Showalter.
So we will see.
We will see, Brian.
But we got some picks to make for tonight. Tough day on the diamond for you yesterday. A little 0-4 spot. Mm-hmm. So I am 31, 22-1. You are 22-32. End of the regular season looming. So all hands on deck. But we'll start with you. Backs against the wall. Division up for grabs. What are the New York Mets doing tonight in Miami?
I'm gonna make it pretty quick and simple here. Taijuan Walker, I would say 6 2/3. Maybe giving up 2 earned runs, a 2-run homer. In that 7th inning, being taken out by Buck, replaced by Ottavino. We'll say Jesus Luzardo, who's 3-7 on the season, 3.57 ERA. Obviously, not a lot of run support from Miami. Yeah, they'll take 1 from us, sure, but we're gonna take the series for sure. I think Pete Alonso, another dinger. Lindor, a dinger. McNeil, a 8th inning 2-run RBI here, single. And the Mets stroll into this one. I'm going to say 5-2. They win this one. Easy money here.
All right. So we'll see. And we have the Braves at the Nationals. Maybe somebody will pick it here. Odorizzi versus Gray. That one's 7:05 from Nationals Park. Of course, despite the division being wrapped up, nothing to be played for. I think the Yankees are just saying, let's show Vladdy whose house it is. Let's make him sweat it out, just like the Mets are sweating it out.
Is anyone sitting out, you think?
So I think Judge will sit out if I had to guess.
Really?
And
That's
then
too bad,
recharge at home.
He's not going to reach 61, dude.
Garrett Cole versus Mitch White. So I think Cole, a little tight the way it's gone recently. That ERA has crept up to 3.49. So I think he just wants to show in a tough environment, a divisional opponent looking to solidify their spot in the playoffs. A pretty good lineup, maybe inconsistent at times, but a lot of quality hitters here. I think he's going to show, listen up, everybody take it easy. All right. So I know I've struggled, but I'm not struggling tonight. So I think Garrett Cole, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 run, no walks, 4 hits. And the Yankees in this one without Judge. You will see Oswald Peraza hit his first major league home run. Oswaldo Cabrera hitting a home run as well. And this is going to be a 4-1 Yankee victory. Aroldis Chapman in for the save. Britton gets the hold.
Oh, okay.
Roster decisions to be made, Tony.
Chapman on it?
What do you? Oh, on the roster. Depends if he does what I'm saying right here. If he does, I think they will. But I mean, it's such a tough spot because they are obviously considering the DFA as well. Curious your thoughts there. And let's say pitches 3 more times, all fine. A couple walks, but doesn't give up any runs. Couple strikeouts. You're the general manager of the New York Yankees. Is he on the postseason roster?
I mean, those couple walks, are we talking like fastball not on it?
Mm-hmm.
No.
DFA?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about Britton? You have to see it. I mean, he walked 3 guys in the third of an inning.
Yeah, so.
More likely to be on the roster, Chapman or Britton?
Britton.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
So you think Chapman, I mean, they're just like, sayonara, Tony.
Basically, dude. I mean, come on. Postseason Chapman is just like not.
It's beat.
It's just not there, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So
anyway, a couple comments. Before I like this one. Mets foul ball hits the smile promo actor in the face tonight. Absolutely. We were talking about it yesterday on Screen Time too. Absolutely ridiculous that they're even like allowing people to do that. So stupid. My mother, they better win in regards to the Mets. She's talking about they have been screwing up. My mother talking like it is. Don't worry, Mom. Okay. Don't listen to Brian. There's confidence. There's positivity. There's light at the end of this tunnel. And it starts tonight because the Nationals are going to steal one from the Braves here. Jake Odorizzi? I don't think so, dude. Against Joshua Gray, 2 pitchers that, I guess ERA respectively 4.61 for Jake, 5.17 for Gray here. I understand obviously the Braves have that lineup and it's for them all hands on deck in terms of winning. But I feel like the Braves can steal one here. I'm not really sure how they're going to do it, but I just got that feeling in me tonight, Brian. I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, obviously the Nationals, haven't had a phenomenal season here. Any which way about it. I mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10, but like I mentioned, there's going to be a spark in the Nationals tonight. They want to help out their former teammate in Max Scherzer, kind of win the division here. So I'm going to say the Braves lose this one to the Nationals in a low-scoring game, 3-2.
Wow, bold.
It is bold, dude.
Very, very bold.
What did they say, dude?
So I'm going to take it in a good pitching matchup here. You got Justin Verlander versus Zach Gallen. Verlander poised to finish the season with an ERA under 2, sitting at 1.82, 17 wins.
Crazy.
So I think Diamondbacks, Verlander, I think he'll make minced meat of their weak hitting. 7 innings, 13 strikeouts, 3 hits, no walks, no runs. Astros 7-0 over the Diamondbacks. Everything's already clinched, but just tuning up to lose to the Yankees in the postseason.
Wow. All right. Next pick, we're going 3 tonight.
I think. Do we have quads or no? I know you need as much help as you can get.
I think we can do quads. Yeah,
okay.
Sure, dude. Let's see. I think I'll take the Brewers tonight. Cardinals.
I didn't even know I was on.
Cardinals.
Just do a little stretch. Didn't realize I was on camera.
Just clinched their division. Obviously, maybe a couple guys will sit here. Jose Quintana, who's had a decent season. ERA just a tick above 3 at a 3.03, 6-6 in the season, I suppose. I think Brian's a big fan of Jose Quintana, right?
I mean, he's always a 86-mile-an-hour fastball away from a disaster, Tony.
So I think Brendan Woodruff, who's had a little bit better of a season in terms of his record, 12-4 here. I think he's going to have a better start than Quintana, and then on top of that, with the Cardinals, I'm sure a couple guys sitting. I know Goldschmidt probably still going for the Triple Crown, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure maybe he'll be playing, but other than that, I think the Milwaukee will be able to kind of take one here from St. Louis. Who are going to rest a few guys. Not to mention, Milwaukee, isn't a bad team. They just, I guess, took 3 out of 4 from Cincinnati. Obviously, losing one relatively tight-ish, 6-2 last night to St. Louis. I say Milwaukee wins this one 5-3.
All right, so I am gonna go with the Phillies here. They're matched up against the Cubs, and obviously they're hanging on for dear life.
They won
here
last
for
night? No, they
that
didn't.
Last
Fucking Zach Wheeler.
last wild card spot. Aaron Nola on the hill versus former Yankee farmhand Hayden Wesneski for the Cubs, who's displayed some good stuff here in the early going, 2-1, 2.45. But I think it's that simple. I mean, I know, the Wrigley faithful still riled despite the terrible season by the Cubs this year. Probably excited for Wesneski. He could be the future after coming over in the Efros deal. But I think Nola, he's a big time pitcher. He knows the Phillies need to win every game they can here to make the playoffs and to sweep the Mets in that wild card series. So I think he steps up. I think he's going to give him 7 shutout innings, striking out 9. And I think Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto will go deep for the Phillies. So give me the Phillies 5-1 over the Chicago Cubs.
See, Tyler Glasnow's pitching for Tampa Bay tonight.
Season debut, Tony. So he could be, potentially a force in the postseason. But does he have enough time to build up? You would say no. I don't know how many starts he had in the minors, but I would imagine he's only a 3-4 inning pitcher come postseason time. Who knows?
I'll take him. Actually, he's like 6'7", huge dude. I actually met him over when I was working at MLB Network. Really cool guy. Very chill, laid back, has a great mindset to be an MLB pitcher. Obviously, he's doing it right now. And I think he's going to come in here not missing a beat, almost like when DeGrom returned. I think Glasnow is going to go, I'll say he'll go 6 innings, pitch count around 88, maybe tops. With the 6 innings of 1 earned run baseball, give me 9 Ks from him. I think he's, like I mentioned, going to come in not missing a beat. The Rays are going to stroll into a nice 3-1 victory against the Guardians here.
All right. So my last pick here, and I think one of the most understated things of this season, and of course, you're looking at a team like the Rangers, 87 losses. So no one's, especially from a national perspective, no one's paying attention to their year. How about Martin Perez, 12-6, 2.90. He's on the hill tonight versus George Kirby, 7-4, 3.30. And it's crazy because Perez, I always thought he was terrible. I think this is his second time around in Texas. And I don't know. Maybe some of that is the fact that they've been out of contention, really all season. No pressure. Right. But, it's tough to pitch in, Globe Life Park. Obviously, this one is in T-Mobile Park. And the Mariners here, they're riled up. It's been 21 seasons since they've been in the postseason, and it looks like they're going to be in this edition of the postseason. And they want to solidify that. George Kirby, as a rookie, has pitched well. And I'm anticipating a solid performance out of him. Rangers ready for the season to end. So give me Kirby, 6 innings, 2 earned, 8 strikeouts, picking up his 8th victory of the year. Ty France, J.P. Crawford going deep for the Mariners. Mariners 6, Rangers 3. 80, is it the 84th victory of the year for the Mariners? So great season out of them, and they just re-signed over there in the AL extension. I think that the American League is very tough this season. A lot of competition, not like the minced meat over in the National League.
I don't know, man. It seems like that the Mets are better than every team besides Houston in the AL. So, in terms of record,
but you can't look at it as in a heads up perspective because, like I said, different schedules. So we'll see. We'll get a better idea next year when we go to the more balanced schedule. I believe it's only, I want to say 11 or 12 division games. We've talked about this before.
It's kind of whack, dude.
And prefer playing a little devil's advocate, but he does agree with me on Seattle, but then wants to go heads up with Cubs in Arizona. So I kind of think that was maybe an error on his part because I would think he would want to just troll me completely and go all 3, right?
Maybe. I can see him being a Seattle fan. I think Cubs honestly might be good because you saw Philly lose 2-1 last night with Zach Wheeler on the mound. And I don't think Aaron Nola is really much better than Zach Wheeler. Arizona, I think, is kind of a stretch. Who's pitching for the Diamondbacks tonight?
Zach
Mitch
Gallen.
Gallen.
Yeah, great pitcher.
Great pitcher.
I believe we have another comment.
My
here.
mother says, "Take it easy, Barnes."
You know, unfortunately, I am just getting started over here. So
Take a little sabbatical.
Stretch run here. I'm fired up. Nobody's taking it easy over here until the season's over. So just a little.
Is it a bite, Tony?
Y
Is it a bite?
and I, Tony. So we'll see how the picks play out tonight.
No,
so,
Mr. Poo-Poo.
He said I meant
Texas,
Texas,
not
not Seattle.
Seattle.
Of course. See, I know
happening.
prefer. I know prefer at this point.
The bugaboo,
Tony. So one other topic to discuss here, Tony. Second official event of this year's PGA Tour schedule, Sanderson Farms Championship. So this one coming from Jackson, Mississippi. And we have some decent names in the field, not all the big names, but some guys that we are familiar with here. And one of the hottest golfers, in the on the tour right now, Sahith Theegala, coming off a tied 8 at Silverado a couple weeks ago. You have Harris English, JT Poston, who had a big win last golf season, Davis Thompson, Sam Burns, who was near the top of the money list last year, Manuel Grillo. We have Davis Riley and Henrik Norlander, as well as Seamus Power, Sepp Straka, Chris Kirk, and Christian Bezenhout. Those are just to name a few here. I understand, it is obviously early, in the PGA Tour season, but these tournaments are important because, you got to position yourself for later in the year, come FedEx Cup playoff time. And there actually are a couple other guys, that we are familiar with here. You got Matthias Schwab, Jason Duffner, Kramer Hickok, Garrett Higo, Chez Reavie, Joel Damon, as well as former U.S. Open champion Gary Woodland, Keegan Bradley. And let's see, just trying to see if there's anybody else that kind of rings a bell here. I know these early season events, can be tough. Trey Mullinex, Rory Sabatini, Jimmy Walker, Harry Higgs, who actually was the one who took off his shirt on the 16th hole at Scottsdale with the par 3 there. Not your usual field, Tony, but if you had to give me somebody, and I have a feeling I know who you're going to say here, but I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm just kind of curious where you go here. Dylan Fratelli, another name, by the way.
Who?
Dylan Fratelli from
Nice
South
Italian
Africa.
boy. Oh.
South Africa has the
Vertelli?
Fratelli. Dylan Fratelli.
Oh, wow.
He does the putting stroke like this.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot what that's called.
How do you feel about that?
It's different, but people have whatever works for them. That's it. You know what I mean? There's no style points in golf.
Interesting. I guess if I had to pick, I guess I would go with Sahith.
I knew it.
I knew you knew that I knew it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I major for Sahith this year, possibly the Masters.
Let's go, dude.
I mean, the stars are aligning. And it's hard to not want to pick him myself. But if I had to give you something here, I'm going to go with a little bit of a curveball here, but a guy who I felt, had a great season last year and is improving year by year, played in his first Open Championship last year. Give me the postman here, Tony. JT Poston, winning the Sanderson Farms Championship. So that'll be an interesting one. And I'm just excited because every day we inch closer and closer to not only Augusta, but the return of the GOAT, Tiger Woods. I mean, we know he'll be at Augusta. I'm sure he'll play his own tournament in the Bahamas. And I wouldn't be surprised, before Augusta, if he makes his way into one of these tournaments, because he's determined. He's not giving up. And I know the odds are stacked against him like they've never been stacked before. But I don't think the days of Tiger Woods winning are over just yet. And I want to say, give him at least a top 20 finish at the Masters, if not an improbable victory. but we do have time to tell. And I believe we have a couple more comments.
Oh, my mother is feeling lucky today. She says, why don't we make it interesting in regards to, I think, the baseball outcomes here, a wager maybe.
All right, so I'm proposing this. Which team advancing further, and let's put a nice cheesecake on the line, Tony.
Oh, let's go, dude.
So we know that
Sayonara.
your
To
mother
yours
is
truly,
gonna take us
Anthony
up on
Schmethany.
this one. So hey, may the best man win.
I just hope I get cheesecake regardless of outcome at this point.
I believe you are gonna get cheesecake. I don't think you have to worry about that.
It's so funny. Let's go, dude.
But yeah, so an exciting time here, and I'm really excited for the football game tomorrow. I know I mentioned it yesterday and probably on Monday as well. But I think we're gonna have a good game tomorrow. Dolphins, Bengals. You excited a little bit?
I am actually. Dolphins, Bengals. Obviously Joe Burrow, big fan of his. Dolphins, pretty hot right now.
Yeah. And we're gonna save it, but I do know who you're gonna take for this game.
Okay.
But let me finish, Tony. I think that is gonna be a good one, and we're always into the announcer pairings here, so just gonna be interested to see how do the Michaels and Herb Street progress here. But I have to say, and I know it's muscle memory, it's what we're used to, but I really wish everything was the way it was last season.
Yeah.
This big switch up, and it's like Kevin Burkhardt, I like him, but I just don't know if he's a number one announcer for Fox.
No, definitely not.
And then Tirico, I don't know. He just doesn't have the same bite without
they're all bad.
Gruden. Any chance Gruden makes his way back to the booth?
I don't think so.
No,
He's
Did you hear he had a defense he put out? I don't know if he was at some event or something.
No, what did he say?
He just said, yeah, like what I said in those emails wasn't good, but I'm still a good person. I go to church. I'm married. I have a couple kids, and everyone's just like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, what?
But would you like to see it, though? The return of Gruden maybe gets paired up with Tirico. Collinsworth possibly on the way out. He's getting up there.
Yeah, I think so. Collinsworth, I think, will die in the booth, to be honest. But I would love to see Gruden back in.
With Tirico.
Yes, with Tirico.
I think they would pick up where they left off.
Definitely.
So that's something to keep an eye out
Yeah.
for. But other than that, other than prefer betting a lasagna, anything else on the tip of your tongue here, Tony?
Yeah, dude, we got a nice gaming corner going on today. 1 o'clock. So you guys can take a little break here, get some lunch, eat some food, and then tune back in. Playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've been on the Switch. We're going to Fire Spit Island. I got I'm in the middle. I'm in the thick of it, Brian. Okay.
Pikachu is on behind you.
Yeah, dude, I got Pokemon on behind me. But yeah, I made up some roster moves. I called in some new guys. Been training around some Pokemon.
Bringing a Charizard.
Yeah, dude, bringing a little Charizard, dude. Calling in the lefty from the pen. It's gonna be sweet. So 1 o'clock, tune in. I'll be right here in this corner here, gaming. It's gonna be a great time.
A couple comments on the way out.
Okay, my mother says cheesecake it is, and I want a very formal speech how you were wrong about how the Mets are the greatest team.
I mean,
Tag him and bag him.
I will agree to that if you are in line to make the same speech yourself when the New York Yankees win their 28th World Championship. And one other?
Well, now you're upping the ante.
I'm not sure what Prefer is referring to.
Yeah, America loves a redemption
Tiger?
comeback story. Tiger?
Right?
Gruden. Gruden.
Gruden. We know
Yeah,
Prefer is
dude.
itching
I
for
know.
Gruden back
He's
in the
a
booth.
family man.
I mean, so is Urban Meyer. He's back in the booth for Fox. So, I mean, why can't Gruden be back in the booth,
Yeah,
right?
God forbid, dude.
So we will see, but definitely catch out that gaming corner. But once again, a great episode today, and we really appreciate everyone tuning in and continuing to comment, like, and subscribe, as well as the YouTube.
Tony, is it a bite?
As well as the archives on the YouTube page, as well as the summer turning fall collection, downtimetv.com. Everybody enjoy the day, enjoy the games, and we will see you mañana.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.